So, folks, I'm just putting it out there. It seems to me that, all my favourite types of co-working spaces were accidentally started by someone. And Teresa is exactly like that. She started her space in Glasgow around 2014. I hope I got that right. Since then, she's run a subscription model, not permanent desks and offices like you're supposed to do. And she knows a lot about co-working, so it's not like she's winging it. We get into that. We talk about both Teresa and I ran networking groups before we started our illustrious co-working careers, and the differences and the similarities we felt between networking and co-working, and why we're so in love with co-working, and how that term has been hijacked as well. We also get into her B Corp certification and what her and her business learned about that. Can't say certification all in one go. But anyway, links in the show notes to everything we talk about in here, including a link to her podcast with Nexodus about how to use software and stuff like that. So let's get into the show. Hello, folks. It is the Co-working Values podcast. We're going to get right into it because I feel we're going to be talking a lot here. So, Teresa Jackson, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
Hi. Oh, I wasn't expecting that question first. I should have been ready, shouldn't I? What would I like to be known for? For providing the most welcoming co-working space that is possible to do.
In the world, or Scotland,
in
or
the world.
Glasgow? In the world,
yeah.
Jeez.
No, I think we're all about that. We're all about being welcoming, being inclusive. I think that's what's most important to me. And
that's lovely. I want to dive straight in here because as I've never started a podcast like this. As I was researching for this podcast, I was quite astounded at how you got your hands on that building. So, as you were wandering from Essex to Glasgow, how did you get into the co-working business?
Well, I was in Glasgow before I even thought about a co-working business. I'd been here for quite a number of years by then. And I got into co-working by complete accident. I had been working in an office, that contract kind of fished. I moved into a flat in a city centre, was tired of working at home. I was fed up of moving from my dining table to my sofa, which was about 3 feet away. I just thought, this is a bit rubbish and I want somewhere to work, but I don't want to sit by myself. I don't want to just be sitting in a little box with other, I want to be with other people. I did a lot of network, and I actually ran and set up a networking organisation in Scotland. It was called For Network, and it's all over the country. But I did that in Scotland, set that up to 23 groups in year one. So we had lots of different networking groups, so lots of different people that I knew. So I said to a few of them, what about if I rented an office? Would you be interested in joining me? Let's all work together. And a few people said, yeah, that sounds cool. And then, of course, I signed the lease. And as often happens when it actually comes to signing on the dotted line, some of those people were like, oh, you were serious. And I found myself with a building, a smaller building than the one I'm in now, with the bills to pay, and was a bit like, oh dear, I'm going to have to do something about this. So the networking membership model made me think, why don't I just create a monthly membership, get people to pay it, and I've taken the hit already. They're just going to have a lot less exposure. They're just doing monthly membership, and that's how it started.
So is it still month by month, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never changed. Some of the things I was talking about this the other day, actually. We've never changed our model. It's always been monthly. It's always been all-inclusive memberships. That means access to desk, access to meeting rooms, access to all the events, access to everything, basically, and just book what you need when you need it. We've never changed that. We've changed the membership slightly, tweaked them from the beginning. I introduced a lower one, actually. I think my first membership I ever introduced was around about 32 hours. And then a lot of people at that time, because this was in 2014 and nobody had really heard of co-working, a lot of people were saying, well, I really like the idea of this, but I don't know that I'm going to use it that much. So could you introduce, or didn't ask me, but I did introduce a lower membership of, I think it was 12 hours then. We called it Now and Then. And then we changed, we moved here. We've now got an 18 hours one. It's called Coffee Meter. So similar kind of idea. But yeah, that's what we did. Never changed.
And because people will know you for working with Nexodus and other spaces. How, as you were saying that there, I was thinking, you're like, this is what we do. We've always done it. do you see other people doing different memberships and like go, oh my God, am I doing this right? Or are they doing this right? Or you feel like, I feel what you have works really well. I would move to Glasgow and do that. But how do you feel about the
It works
membership?
really well for us. It works really well for us. I think where we are based in the city centre, that we're all subscription. We do buck the trend to a lot of spaces, because a lot of people have dedicated desks, offices. They're the money, basically. The offices, private offices are generally the money. But we are all subscription, all open plan. Nobody has a dedicated desk as such. So we do rely on the subscriptions. And, we are a subscription model. But it does work for us. I don't think it would work in a different area. And obviously I'm advising a lot of co-working spaces as well. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend our model. I recommend what I think will fit for them. And it does depend where you are and who your target audience is. So
I would venture to suggest that my gut feel is that is based upon the type of person that runs the space, because you have to have a sort of atmosphere created where it works for that kind of subscription thing, rather than like you said, the offices and dedicated desks are dead certain.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I've always felt it works for the community we have, and we attract a certain type of person because of what we do here. It's dynamic. Obviously, it's you have to share. You have to want to share. If you don't want to share your space, you're not going to like it here, because everything's shared. So I think that brings a certain type of people who are willing to share. And I honestly think that's why we've got a building full of fantastic, lovely people.
How many people in that building?
Well, we've got 9 meeting rooms, 40 desks, a couple of open plan spaces. So we could get probably around 100 people in here at any one time. We're 300, that's including visitors and obviously as well. We're 350 members. So we've got, we've everyone turned up all on the same day, we'd have a problem.
That'd be tricky.
Thankfully, they don't.
So you've opened in, I've really gone off my questions here, sorry, but you opened in 2014. Was that one of the first co-working spaces in Glasgow?
It was the first co-working space in Glasgow. Yeah. That was,
and do you remember the little thing I shared with you beforehand? There was this image of the guys in the pub for that. When I got that from Anthony Bourdain when he went to Glasgow, and I was really enamored with the idea of like people used to go to that pub, and now they go to your co-working space. Does that land with you? Is that me just having this rose-tinted image of?
I think people come for lots of reasons, actually. So I mean, I definitely think that people come more for community. And honestly, I've been in this game for quite a long time now, 2014 to now. When we first opened, people didn't come for community. They came because they thought, oh, that's quite cool. I could have a meeting room in town, or I could have an address and, be all professional looking and everything. But after a while, they'd be a bit like, oh, I get this. I get more than this. I do get community. I like having the community. I like having people around me. But now I think it's changed. Now I think people are drawn to, I want to be with other people. I don't want to be sitting at home on my own all the time. They definitely now get that and come for that.
And when you're just talking to people there, like, do you say, because you use that word community, which we both know is what we're talking about, but like, how do you say that to people? Do you say there's a great community here and they go, oh yeah, that's what I need? Or do they come in and feel it? Like, how do you deal with selling them community without selling them community?
I don't really talk about it. People come in and say that that's what they want. They'll come in and say things like, I just can't stay at home anymore on my own. I want to be around other people. I'm looking for, do you do events? They'll ask me, do you do events? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We've got lots of social events going on. We do more social events these days than we do business events, funny enough. We've done business events. We have some, but the social events we found kind of work better for us. I don't sell them community. I think they feel it. We walk around, we always do a tour, and people will say to me, it's got a really nice feel. So I don't actually,
I can't imagine you, just community. To be clear, I can't imagine you walking around with a, whiteboard saying, here's community,
No.
Like, a pitch
I'm
deck.
not sure that would work.
Teresa's pitch deck on community. Now, the other thing I wanted to get in here, which is I keep on avoiding it, is that co-working has been hijacked article. Like, I feel that too. Like, I'm never sure quite how to resolve that, but like, do you still feel that? Do you feel we're taking it back, the independent side of the movement?
So I'm not sure what you mean.
You wrote an article which was co-working has been hijacked.
Oh yeah. You have done your research. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I said.
I
think it has been hijacked by everybody who kind of is co-working now, aren't they? Like, we just go, I'm co-working, and a lot of people say I'm co-working. It's, are they really co-working? Because they've opened a little bit in the corner with some seats. So yeah, I think it has been a bit hijacked.
Because Fernando, I don't know if you ever knew him, but Fernando and Anna ran co-working Lisboa, which was the first I think it was the first co-working space in Lisbon. And for ages, like 10 years ago, he was saying it's been hijacked. That word's been hijacked, and we need to take it back. And there was this whole kind of thing around it. And I don't mean from a kind of like, debating, are you doing real co-working or, that kind of thing, but it's how that word is used. Because I feel that, the Rolands, the Ewans and the Karens are the co-working I like. And then there's like, even where I live, there's like big shiny offices open up and they're saying co-working, and it's a word that has been hijacked. That's why I jumped on that. Like I that's what I think a lot.
Yeah,
and
I think that's true. Everyone thinks they can open a co-working space these days. It's it's just like, oh, isn't it nice and easy? But your little video you shared with me made me laugh. But it's true. Like, it's a big risk. You take on all the costs, all the risk, and then let everybody else who's part of your co-working space take a tiny bit of risk. And that's that truly independent co-working. It's not the same if you have got deep pockets and, like you say, a big shiny building and investors and all this kind of thing. It's not the same.
That's why I've always resisted the temptation to open a restaurant and a co-working space, because I just would find it very devastating. I when I worked in restaurants, I worked for a lot of independent restaurant owners, and some of them just got themselves in such a hole with money because they were great cooks, but they weren't very good at business. And it was I think that scarred me, even though that was like 20 years ago. That scarred me for the rest of my life to not have anything involved in it. Not to have
bricks and
anything
mortar.
involved
I don't
in
blame you.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd have done
Yeah.
it. Like I said, it was a complete accident. If I hadn't found myself in that situation, would I have done it? I don't know. I'd never had any inclination to do it. I thought I was just doing a shared office with a few people, just sharing our costs, and it was out of necessity because I am at my core a salesperson. I just was a problem solver, I guess. It was just like, how can I get myself out of this mess? But it did well, and then that's why I ended up doing it again on purpose the next time for the much bigger building and taking a much bigger risk, and really hoping that would work. So that was quite a lot of sleepless nights, but here we are 10 years later in this building and doing better than we've ever done. Touch wood, always.
Brilliant. So I used to run a networking group too, and when I found the bit I really enjoyed about the networking group was when we done all the, hi, I'm Alan the accountant, Bob the builder, Claire the computer fixer, and then everyone would. This was before Instagram, everyone would like go, oh, should we just sit here? And people would get out their laptops. And very often we'd like spend the morning sitting in the cafe. What we didn't even know it there, Teresa. We were like,
but you were co-working. Yeah.
And someone actually said we used to meet around King's Cross, and there was a basement in King's Cross that was available. It just wouldn't have worked. But it was available, and a few of us nearly did what you did. It was like we could take this basement and we would have an office we could use, and
Yeah.
you know, it just didn't work out. But we could have had one of the first co-working spaces in London. But where I was going with
Wow.
this is there was that feeling. Can you say, like, there's the I'm going to a networking meeting with this group of freelancers, micro business owners, small business owners, and then I'm sitting in a room with them all day. And I found that actually what I found in co-working was what I was hoping to find in networking.
Yeah. I'd agree
How
with
did
that.
that
And
work for
I've
you?
said that to people. It's like, I used to say that a lot actually in the early days to try and explain what it was all about as well. It's like, it's natural co-working. Natural networking. You aren't just networking with people while you're making a coffee in the kitchen, or, you end up getting caught up in some conversation, having a chat, and you get to know your fellow co-workers and become friends. I mean, I know there's been lots of really strong friendships created here, business partnerships created here. Yeah, I mean, it's natural networking.
I found there's also, like, I learned so much being in a room with other people, because when you
Uh,
go to a networking meeting, you kind of have your game face on, and there's like 2 hours of business development. And there's nothing, I say that with a bit of a sneer, but there's nothing wrong with that. And then when you're sitting in a room with people, I felt people, like, I just learned so much from hearing how Dave across the room, sorry, did a sales call, and how this person did something on their website, or whether they were using, this app or this app. And there's a lot of micro learning that's available that you probably wouldn't sign up to a course to do that, but
yeah.
you just become aware of it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you become aware of it. You learn a lot, and also I think people, it's there's no office politics either, because the people around you don't know them. You're not part of their business. You're not part of their company. They're not your employees. Well, sometimes they are, but if you're a team together, but mostly the people around you are all doing different things. So you don't really know what they're doing or that deeply about what they're into, but you can hear, like you say, you can hear the conversations. I can always say to people, don't think people really listen as much as you think they do. When, because when people are new to an open plan space, they're a bit like, oh, I better whisper. Nobody don't want people to hear what I'm saying. Nobody really pays that much attention. But you do, like you say, you'll just pick up little snippets, or you might catch a bit of something. And there probably is, like, say, lots of micro learning that goes on.
I liked, I mean, like, this is really terrible, but one place I was in, I sat with the same people for a year, and I felt like I was, like, hearing the progression of their project. It was like a little business soap opera as it went bad, it went good, it went bad, it went good. So the other thing I'm dying to ask you before we get to the end is your B Corp commitment. And
Yes.
when did you decide to do that? And you're doing quite well at that, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, the reason we decided to do it is because it was lockdown. Obviously, lockdown was a very challenging time. We survived, thank goodness, because of the generosity of our members, a lot of whom decided to keep paying us, keep the memberships going, even though they couldn't use it. We in turn gave them credit for that. And although we were massively down, I mean, like 55% down on revenue, we managed to scrape through and survive and build back up again afterwards, which not everyone was lucky enough to do. So there wasn't much going on. It was still quite quiet, even though we were open in the summer of 2020. We weren't that busy because lots of people were still, don't know, should I go? Not feeling ready to go back, etc. So we wanted a project. We were a bit bored. And I came across this B Corp, and I hadn't necessarily even thought of going all the way through with it, but we just thought this would be a good challenge, because it's not something new. The stuff we were doing a lot of it already. But I just thought it would test us to see how good we were. So we worked through the process, started going through the assessment. There were lots of things we're like, oh yeah, we do that. Yeah. Or we haven't got a policy written for it though. Well, we'll write a policy. I'm like, that's fine. We can do that. It was a lot of work, but it really was enjoyable because it really did test us and look at how we, how we were doing on our own self-confessed commitment to people and the planet. And there were some ideas that came out of it. And then the more we got into it, we were like, well, let's do this now. Let's go all the way. And delighted to get the score we got. So it's a good score. They told us it was a good score and we got it. And so it's a lovely thing to have, to sort of evidence that we care. But we always did care. Just now we've got a label.
And what did you, I mean, you said a little bit there, but like, what did you learn about your business from it? Because I think some people just go, oh, let's be a B Corp because it's the thing to do. And then I've met people like Town Square I've known since the beginning, and they were one of the first people. Gareth and Mandy were one of the first people I know who went for the B Corp thing. And like you, they were already doing a lot of it. And even if they didn't have a B Corp badge to put on their website, they were just, that's what they were about anyway. And they said it was like really hard. They kind of went, oh, well, let's fill in this form, and then came up for air a few months later. But it made them look at everything they were doing. So like, what did you take away from it that was
we introduced
rewarding?
some things. I introduced some extra benefits to members, put in private healthcare. I hadn't really necessarily thought about, but it's such a tiny team. But it was like, well, private healthcare, actually, we could do that. Why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we offer that to the team? A cycle to work scheme where you can get a bike. Eleanor got a new bike. So there were lots of things we did around the team. Our environmental was all pretty good, but we looked deeper into that and emissions and all that kind of thing. The governance as well. We went and changed our articles of association, which is a commitment you have to do to say we are hanging our hat on this. We're going to do it. I think we learned lots of things. One of the main things I think was we had to write things down. Like we're like, yeah, we do that, but we don't have that written down in a policy, or we don't have that written because we hadn't really needed it. But that was really good to do. Now we have got all the documentation, which is useful to have as a business. So yeah, I guess it helped us to really cement what we believe in and what we wanted and write it down.
That would terrify. Whenever someone says to me, write down your processes, I freeze. I like doing it to other people because I don't have to write them down, but the clarification that comes with it is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I find it really painful, but it removes this kind of existential overhead of what do I really think and where do I find that,
Yeah.
What is there anything I haven't asked you, like you're dying to tell me as a result of our conversation? Because my car's on double yellow lines outside and I've got to go.
I don't think so. I didn't really know what to expect. Just thought, come and have a chat and see where it goes.
That's what I thought too. It was worth the podcast to find out the legend of your place. Where can people track you down, find you online, and all those kind of things you say at the end of a podcast?
The website, Collaborate, COLLABOR number 8 te.co.uk, which actually came from being at number 8 John Street originally. I woke up at 20 to 1 in the morning and went, oh, I've got the name. And that's what we called it. And then we moved to number 22. Didn't work anymore, but the name's kind of set by then. So yeah, we are Collaborate with an 8 and a TE at the end.
I'm so glad you said that because I really wanted to ask you that. And I didn't know whether to just chuck it in there at the end. So that's really cool. And where's the best place to keep up with you as Teresa Jackson online? LinkedIn. We're going to put a link to all of that in the show notes, folks. There's tons of links in the show notes, and we'll put a link to it's Next Level Coworking, isn't it?
Next Level Coworking is the consultancy side, yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever, what's that? It's next. I can never say it. Next. What's it called?
Nexodus.
That's it.
Yeah.
I've been silly. I know they listen. So say what you do with Nexodus so people really know.
We help spaces around the world, co-working spaces around the world, with Nexodus setup, implementation, troubleshooting, but it also goes into operational process. We solve problems, and we help you make the most of the technology you are going to buy or have already bought.
I'm going to put you on the spot here so you can like come back at me. If it's, like, I would estimate that in my 100 years in co-working, people probably use about 30% of things like Nexodus. Would you say that's like accurate?
In a lot of cases that is true. We're on a bit of a mission to make sure that's not the case. We use all of ours. I mean, literally every bit of it. I actually did a podcast last week with Nexodus, and they were asking us about, our use, what we use. And it didn't happen overnight, though, obviously. I mean, we've been using this software since 2014 as well. But we've gradually used everything, the CRM tools. There's so much to it. And it's so useful. It does have everything a co-working space needs. So it's good to use it.
Other products are available, but
other products are available, yeah.
Anyway, let's so back to my show notes blurb as we exit here. So go to the show notes. We'll put links to everything we talked about in this podcast with Teresa. We'll chuck in that podcast from Nexodus 2. And if you're listening to this, I think the day we publish this, we'll probably be sitting in a room in Blue Garage in Lewisham talking about how to run a co-working space and be all
brilliant,
deep and hugging your community. So thanks for your time and attention today.
Thanks, Bernie.
Wherever you are in the world, be careful out there. It is a jungle.
Bye now.